What is up, everyone? ElPro. Today's video we're going to be reacting to an online video that I saw that honestly kind of made me, a bit upset because this is kind of deceiving. And the reason is because Mr. Casgains Academy really doesn't believe that the GMC Hummer Eevee is a real thing. And the reasons he proposes are honestly kind of, well, let's just say half-assed, because that's what they are. I feel like this guy doesn't really know too much about the car industry or like cars in general, and I feel like I'm a little bit more qualified to talk about this. So I mean, I by no means am like a car engineer or something, but I do know I am a car enthusiast, so I know a thing or two about cars. So I feel like it is one of my duty, or at least my responsibility, to kind of address this video a little bit. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So let's go ahead and play this video and show you why I think it's a bit deceptive and a bit, what's another word I can use? Misleading. That's another one. So let's go ahead and have a look at this video.
When GM's Hummer Eevee was recently unveiled, it quote-unquote sold out within the first 10 minutes. It almost seemed as if everyone wanted it. In fact, their YouTube advertisement reached #1 on the trending page and received millions of views. However, a closer look shows that the vehicle that GM hyped up does not even exist. The entire unveil was a marketing scheme with no substance behind it at all. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the scam that is GMC's Hummer Eevee. Welcome to Casgains Academy. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more content like this, and let's get right into it. As many of you know, GM is currently under negotiations with Nikola Motors to manufacture the Nikola Badger hydrogen and electric pickup truck. When GM CEO Mary...
Actually, this is some recent information that just changed. So I think it looks like GM has actually backed out of the whole Nikola thing. Let's see. GM Nikola deal. Let's see. Oh yeah. So as you can see, so I found this news article on CNBC. Oh, nice. Thank you. It's blocking my ad blocker. God dang it. Okay, so basically what we can see right here is that GM gives up equity stake in smaller rework deal. So basically GM is they're giving up on Nikola because, let's be honest, Nikola, they're kind of a joke. That's kind of the nice way to put it, because they haven't actually given us a product that is real and that we can touch. So I feel like this is why GM is probably backing out of this deal. But also because, the Hummer Eevee is coming, so GM is just taking matters into their own hands and making their own product. So that's why I believe that they're probably doing this, and it seems reasonable, honestly. So that's some new information. In case you didn't know, GM is basically backing out of this. Let's see, can I see another article? Yep, here's one. So here's The Verge, and it says GM pumps the brakes on its deal with troubled electric truck startup Nikola. Okay, so this basically is just explaining what I said, that GM is just kind of backing out of this deal because, let's be honest, that it's a good idea. It's not a good investment, since Nikola has not really proven itself to be competent and able to actually make a vehicle. And GM has been doing it for a couple decades now, so I think it's safe to say that even GM is like, yeah, no, this is not gonna work. But let's continue watching this original video and see what Mr. Casgains has to say.
Mary Barra first unveiled their partnership, she stated that their teams have a lot of chemistry.
This is a huge growth opportunity for us, and as Trevor said, as we started to talk, we realized we shared a common vision of the world of creating an all-electric future. The teams have already begun discussions, and there's really good chemistry between the technical teams, so we couldn't be more excited about working with Nikola.
GM's team does indeed have great chemistry with Nikola's fraudulent culture, as they literally took their GM Hummer Eevee from Nikola's playbook. Back in 2018, Nikola unveiled its Nikola 1, a supposed hydrogen-powered truck that received many pre-orders. As it turns out, they never even had a prototype, and we now know that they famously had featured a truck rolling down a hill in a promotional video.
I mean, they did have a prototype, they didn't have a running prototype. But I mean, whatever.
GM took this right out of Nikola's playbook by showcasing the Hummer Eevee when they don't even have a prototype ready.
They do though. I'll show you the Doug DeMuro video here in a little bit, but yeah, they do. That's not true.
In fact, GM admitted this by saying, "Interestingly enough, we don't have a vehicle yet. We're building our first test vehicle as we speak. The vehicle you see in the video is our display vehicle." Despite having no prototype yet,
I feel like I should mention around this point that Ford is in a similar situation when it comes to the Ford Bronco. Again, Doug DeMuro kind of helped me see this because he also made a video explaining how or why his Ford Bronco is not an actual running and driving thing, and that's because it's a prototype just like the Hummer Eevee. So I feel like this is normal. It's not exactly anything out of the blue because, you know, the vehicle's not made yet. It's just in a prototype stage, which is fine, but I don't see why this is such a big problem. Ford is in the same situation right now, so yeah.
GM still expects to bring the Hummer Eevee into production by late 2021, which is beyond ridiculous.
Why? I don't think it's ridiculous because, let's be honest, GM has been in the business of making cars for many decades at this point. So I don't think it's unreasonable for them to go from a rolling prototype to an actual running and driving vehicle that you can actually purchase. I don't think it's unreasonable for GM to do that in a year-ish, because I'm making this on December 1st, 2020, and GM expects to bring this out in exactly a year. So I don't think it's unreasonable for them to do that. I think they might actually do it. I mean, given that, you know, they don't mess up and the pandemic doesn't set them back any further. But I don't think that's gonna happen. GM is a big company. I feel like they can figure it out, at least better than Nikola has, because they're still kind of a joke. But anyway.
In fact, the automaker actually expects to have the Hummer Eevee in production before the Cybertruck, which was unveiled.
Okay, I have to mention this. So the Cybertruck. Yeah, I do think GM is gonna beat Tesla to the punch when it comes to the electric truck, and this is very simply because the Cybertruck doesn't even look like a finished goods product. Like, it still looks like a clay model. Like, I kid you not, this thing doesn't look production ready. I don't think the interior has ever been seen. Let me see, is this
last year.
Am I onto something here? Let's see, let's look for the Tesla Cybertruck interior. Let's look for it. I've never seen it, and I doubt it's a thing. Okay, so this looks like a render still. Okay. Wow. Yeah, this doesn't look like an actual car still. It still looks pretty incomplete. It looks like a mock-up, but this doesn't quite look like a car. I don't know. I still believe that GM is further along in the process of designing this thing, because like the Tesla still looks like a literal model. Just, you know, yeah. There's literally, this interior literally still looks like a render. I mean, here's a picture of somebody actually in it, but I think it's just a Shmee video. But yeah, this doesn't really look complete yet, at least compared to the GM one. But let's continue looking. Let's continue watching this video, see what Mr. Casgains has to say.
In CNBC's Hummer Eevee video, we can notice that they call themselves a quote-unquote world's first zero-emission super truck. Getting the Hummer
I mean, if they bring it up to market before Tesla does, then I think that is not misleading at all. It's true.
Eevee to production in 1 year without having a prototype is literally impossible unless you're working.
They do have a prototype. It's exiting prototype stage right now.
At Tesla's pace. There are many vehicle tests.
Wait, did you say at Tesla's pace? What makes you think Tesla's actually going faster than GM? I mean, I don't get that, because like, if you have a look at the Cybertruck, this thing doesn't look complete at all. It still looks like a toy. Oh, that's the Rivian. I'm actually going to talk about this one in a little bit, but I don't know. Again, I don't think the Tesla is complete. I mean, the model is, but not the prototype. So I don't know. What do you mean by saying that they're not working at Tesla speed? I think they're a bit ahead of Tesla. That's what I think.
Has to have to be made in order for the vehicle to be deemed safe and reliable. Because of how slow GM's team is, these
You want to talk about slow in the automotive industry? Look at Acura and their NSX. It literally took them 11 freaking years. I mean, let me see. Let me do my quick research here. Dude, I do believe it took them about 11 years to actually bring the successor to the 2005. Yep. It took them 11 years to bring out the successor to the original NSX. The original NA1 and the NA2. Yeah. The NC1 came out in 2016. So, I don't know. If you want to talk about slow, I mean, just look at Honda. It took them forever to make a new NSX, and let's be honest, no one really cares about that car because the hype has died down for a while now. I mean, you can definitely tell by the sales. 238 sales in 2019. So, I don't know. If you want to talk about slow, like slow production or slow, how like a car manufacturer moving very slowly, I think you should look at Honda because GM is moving quite a bit faster than that, since the Hummer Eevee is actually exiting prototype stage and actually might become a real thing pretty soon here. And also when it comes to the regulations, I feel like GM has this one in the bag because they've been, going up against regulations for like many years now. So I think that they have the secret sauce and the formula to actually make this, a relatively snappy process. Like, they don't have to wait forever. Whereas like Nikola, for example, if they try to do the same thing, I think that they would have trouble figuring this out since they've never actually made a car. So I don't know. That's just what I believe. I think GM is still doing better than Tesla, or even Rivian for that matter.
tests will take months to complete. GM's culture is heavily aligned with starting meetings for every small problem. Once these tests are finished, GM will then have to cover the problem of ramping up the production of the Hummer Eevee. Eevees are known for being extremely difficult.
Okay, so I also want to mention this. So if I'm not mistaken, the Cadillac CT6 was recently discontinued. The factory that it's made in is currently being retooled so that they can make the Hummer Eevee. Let me check again. I do believe this is accurate because I do this kind of research because on my own time. And honestly, I don't know why I do it, but I just happen to know this stuff. Let's see. Cadillac CT6 assembly, Detroit Hamtramck assembly. Let's see. Future models: GMC Hummer Eevee and the Escalade Eevee in 2024. So, yeah, then they used to make the CT6 there, and the Chevy Impala, Buick LaCrosse. So basically, right now, the GM car factory, the one that made passenger cars, is being retooled to make the GMC Hummer Eevee. How is this? Like, why does this indicate that GM is not ready to produce this thing? They're literally retooling the freaking factory that's making it. I don't know. Let's see.
I'm sure many of you know that Elon literally had to sleep inside the Gigafactory when ramping up the Model 3.
Well, that's because Mr. Elon hasn't quite figured out how to mass produce things. I mean, if you see the Tesla, the quality levels are kind of all over the place. So, I don't know. I feel like Tesla hasn't really figured out the whole mass production thing yet. It's just a thought.
The different tooling and machines that are required to manufacture EVs at an efficient and consistent pace are not going to be easy for GM. Some will argue that GM
They're already retooling the factory. What do you mean, bruh? The factory that used to make their passenger cars is being retooled right now. So, I don't get this.
GM's Hummer Eevee is real. After all, there are plenty of YouTube reviews out there. There have been many YouTubers that gave a review of the Hummer Eevee in person. Most famously, Doug DeMuro reviewed the Hummer Eevee.
I think Doug already kind of cleared up what's happening here, but I'll probably end up doing that again here.
Which at the time I'm recording this video has over 1.4 million views. During Doug's review, he even went as far as to state that the Hummer Eevee was the most superior EV pickup truck that's coming to market.
This one seems to be the most impressive for its technology, its capability, its performance, but also for the fact that it's further along than all the other ones seem to be.
Why did you put a question mark, bro? It's not false. This thing is further along than the rest.
Cybertruck was shown off a year ago and seemed nowhere close to production ready. The Rivian, they keep showing pictures and videos, but, well, I'm not sitting in one of those.
See, this is what I'm saying, like, again, I think the Hummer EV is further along. I mean, Doug has sat in one. He has kind of played around with it, so yeah, he hasn't done that with the Rivian or the Nikola or the Cybertruck for that matter, because they probably don't exist yet.
Is going to be out next year, and in here it certainly looks like they know what they're doing.
I've enjoyed watching some of Doug's videos in the past, but he's certainly incorrect on this one. The Hummer EV he reviewed was not even a real vehicle. Instead, it was a display. In fact, the vehicle was so incapable of functioning that GM had to use a cable to power the interior.
Okay, so Doug already mentioned this, but I'll probably do it in this video again. Usually display cars are plugged in, mostly to not drain the actual battery. I've seen this personally. I've used to, when I went to the Denver Auto Show a couple of years ago, I think I sat in a Dodge Challenger 392, or was it a V6? I think it was a V6, and the thing was plugged in. And that's mostly for the internal electronics to work, but not allow you to actually start the engine. So that's mostly just for display purposes, so that the electronics work and that you can see the car in action without it actually being on. So yeah, this is normal. I don't see what the big deal here is.
Interior display and exterior lights. So GM is telling me that this vehicle does not even have a functioning battery to power the electricity of the vehicle, but expects to go into production in 1 year? This was straight out of Nikola's playbook, as the Hindenburg report exposed the fact that Nikola's truck was not even hydrogen powered. The display vehicle had to use a cable in order to power the interior of the vehicle. Not only that,
I mean, again, this is normal display vehicle stuff. I don't know what the big deal here is.
but a review of a vehicle should have the person experiencing the vehicle in motion, instead of just people walking into.
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, I do believe Doug actually said that this was a prototype, not a running prototype. You know, the difference here is that a prototype is just a shell, and then a running prototype is one that actually moves. So, yeah. Again, I don't see what's wrong here.
To and around the Hummer EV, describing what the Hummer could theoretically do based on the projected performance specs. This isn't the fault of those who reviewed the vehicle, because what else can you do with a non-working vehicle? This is the fault of GM, who's taking actions that are oddly reminiscent of the unveiling of the Nikola 1. After many people saw the Nikola 1 in person, they already thought it was legit without taking into account the vehicle was not working. Now don't get me wrong, I do believe that GM will eventually release the Hummer EV on.
See, this is kind of where things go wrong, because even you're doubting yourself here. And yeah, because I think most of the people agree that GM is further along in the production of an actual EV truck. Nobody has brought one out yet, at least not successfully. So yeah, this is why GM's truck is such a big deal, because they actually are pretty close to making it. Nikola, again, they're just a giant joke. Like, yeah, sure, they can make stuff, but they can't make stuff that you can use, so I don't know. I don't know what this guy's up. I don't know what you're up to, man. Like, you just kind of contradicted yourself right here.
Unlike Nikola Motors, but it will definitely be underwhelming at the very least.
No, I won't. Because if they can actually bring it out, it will be the first electric truck. That's going to be a huge deal, so I don't get how that's going to be underwhelming at all.
Yet the joke that is the Hummer EV goes beyond delivery dates and the fact that it doesn't even exist yet. One of the biggest features that caught people's attention during the Hummer EV unveil was their crab walk technology that allows the truck to move horizontally. It does look like a pretty cool feature, even though it isn't practical for 99% of the population. Aside from this,
there is tons of features in modern cars that are not practical at all. I think, what's one that I can think of? Oh yeah, the whole Tesla arcade thing. Let's see. Yeah, so
Yeah, it's nixed out with the Verge, and we're checking out Tesla Arcade on a Tesla.
yeah, so yeah, in Teslas you can just play games for fun. Again, this isn't practical at all, but it's cool. That's what I'm trying to suggest here. So let's continue watching this one. Oh, he's gonna mention Quadra steer. Are you kidding me?
That caught people's attention during. It does look like a pretty cool feature, even actually a spin-off of one of GM's earlier attempts of something similar that was discontinued because of extremely low demand. In 2002, the Quadra steer extension was offered to those who bought the Chevrolet and GMC pickup trucks for an extra $5,600. To be modified.
Okay, this is accurate, but then again, why does this matter? This isn't really that relevant, is it?
Modification of the rear axle. This function allowed for additional maneuverability when turning the vehicle. However, lackluster demand for this function was so low that in 2003, the cost for the Quadra steer dropped to $2,000 and then around $1,000 before being discontinued in September of 2003. The crab walk is almost the same feature, but with just a few changes, and this time, it's included in the premium price tag of the Hummer Eevee. The fact that GM actually took the Quadra steer and rebranded it as the crab walk in order to make it seem like the Hummer Eevee has some revolutionary innovations is quite ridiculous.
Not really, it's just GM reintroducing a feature they dropped because previously, yeah, it wasn't very useful, but now that this is meant to be kind of an off-road truck, it's more useful now. So actually it makes sense, unlike this video.
Seriously, it's a cool feature, but who's even going to use the crab walk for practical use? It's definitely going to be hard to justify a purchase of this vehicle when the 250 mile range version costs $80,000, which is 2 times more than the 250 mile range Tesla Cybertruck.
Okay, so this one's funny because, let's be honest, it would be pretty insulting if Tesla tried to charge you $80,000 for this piece of crap. If this is what it's actually going to look like, which apparently it is. Yeah, that actually would be pretty insulting. GM's truck looks like a truck, mostly. So I think, you know, if you're an early adopter, I don't think it's unreasonable to pay that amount, because after all, you are going to be kind of the beta tester. You are going to get access to the cutting edge of technology, but that does come at a price. So again, I don't see what the big deal here is.
GM's entire commercial named the quote-unquote revolutionary world premiere was all CGI. Don't get me wrong here, the CGI was pretty fun to watch.
Here's the thing, if I showed you actual footage of a vehicle, you probably wouldn't be interested in watching it. That's probably the thing, that's probably the case here, because, like, let's be honest, all car commercials are CGI, at least somewhat. They're all kind of distorted to just kind of, you know, disconnect them from reality a little bit, to, you know, persuade you that you need this vehicle, when in reality you probably don't. So this isn't new, this is kind of normal, I would say. I mean, if you doubt me that normal footage wouldn't, you know, suffice, here you go. I'm going to show you actual footage of me driving my car. Yeah, that doesn't seem very interesting, does it? Doesn't really entice you to want to buy the car, does it? So, in the very end, yeah, advertisements have to be a bit deceptive because they're advertisements. They're not freaking showcasing they're not showcasing the car. They're just trying to get you to buy it. So, yeah, that doesn't really matter.
Watch, given that they got the expertise from Nikola Motors. However, the fact that this vehicle...
Why does he keep saying that Nikola has anything to do with this? They don't. They're just a joke, still.
which is shown moving around at high speeds, does not even exist is concerning. GM was touting the 1000 horsepower as if it existed, when we can clearly see on the screen that the specs are just a GM estimate. Again, this is straight out of Nikola's playbook when they showed their Nikola truck rolling downhill. Being the multi-billion-dollar corporation that is GM, it's difficult to see such a large brand purposely deceive customers. Initially, I found it hard to believe that GM was intentionally giving false delivery dates and false claims of their technology. Yet it's not the first time that GM has done something like this. It took over 11 years for GM to fix its ignition switch defect, which
I have
decided
to mention that. Okay, this is not at all the same. What he's talking about here is GM, how long it took GM to fix a problem. This doesn't at all relate to GM promising a product that they will never deliver. I mean, the closest thing I can kind of come up with is the V12 North Star, which was believed to be the powertrain to power the Escalade in the future. At the time, this was 2008, so that's what they said, I believe. Let's see. I think let me do my quick Google search here to show you guys that I'm not full of crap. Let's see. Alright, so it's the original V12 Cadillac. Alright, well, let's see. So this was kind of the closest we got to, this is the closest example that I can come up with of GM promising something that they didn't deliver, which honestly they didn't really promise this. They just said that they were thinking about it, but this never became a thing. Let's see, or how about the Cadillac V16? Nice, so that's the original, but do they have the new one? Oh yeah, so there's the Cadillac 16, but I mean, I believe this was a concept, so yeah, it's not really GM deceiving anybody. They're just saying, hey, look what we can do. Oh, by the way, we're not making it, so I think that's kind of the closest thing I can come up with, but this is not the same thing.
to have caused at least 31 crashes and 13 deaths. Not only that, but in 1991, John McNamara was able to scale his loan to $6 billion to manufacture his van, similar to Nikola Motors but the other way around. John was later caught to be running
example of Nikola Motors doing the other way around?
running a Ponzi scheme with GM's workers.
Okay, so no. Alright, but this is an example of a GM scandal, so basically normal company crap. Again, I don't see what the big fuss is here. It's literally not related to promising a product and not delivering it. That's what he's claiming, but this is not related. It's just company scandals. That's normal. That's what they all have. I mean, if you look at FCA, let's see, FCA recalls. So they probably have some similar ones. Let's see. Oh, the Takata airbags. Yeah, so they're basically normal stuff. Again, there's nothing incoherent here. It's just GM, typical company shenanigans that happen sometimes. They happen to pretty much every single company that's been in business for more than 5 years or 2. I don't know. But basically, what I'm saying here is this seems like normal company stuff. Nothing out of the blue here.
Countless other frauds, such as their 2009 accounting violation, show that GM is capable of running
again, normal company stuff.
a scam in the billions of dollars. Overall, I'm quite skeptical of GM's unveiling of the Hummer Eevee.
That's not unreasonable. I mean, I kind of am too, but I'm not claiming it's not going to be a thing when clearly GM is trying to make this thing happen. I mean, you can see all their efforts. Just the fact that this thing is exiting prototype stage. They're retooling a goddamn factory. I mean, what else do you want? That's proof that this thing does actually exist.
Original Hummer Eevees were extremely ineffective.
Did you just call an H1 an Eevee? Bruh, this is how you know that I don't think Mr. Casgains knows what he's saying here, because he's calling a freaking H1 an Eevee. Okay.
Efficient, with ranges of 10 to 11 miles per gallon. This was due to their exceedingly heavy weight of 6,400 pounds, combined with a plethora of ineffective engineering design.
Why does this matter? just doesn't matter. This was originally meant to be a military vehicle. I don't see why making it efficient would be a thing. This thing was meant to be rugged. It was meant to be tough. It was meant to withstand, war. So that's the original intent of the AM General H1, the Humvee H1. Okay, that doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
Designs and features. We'll have to see what direction the Hummer EV ends up taking, ending up like its predecessors and going out of production, or becoming.
Okay, so there's actually 3 reasons why the Hummers, all of them, went out of production. Number 1 was mostly because Arnold Schwarzenegger made it, cool. So that's the reason the H1 even became like a thing. And then the H2 was basically its successor, but it wasn't quite as cool because it was just kind of a repurposed Chevy product. To be exact, it was a, I think it's like a 2500 truck, just with a different SUV body on it. So that wasn't that cool. And then the H3 was actually a re-skinned Chevy Colorado, and that was kind of far away from the original military truck, so that's why people didn't really want it. That's why sales went down. So that's the second reason, is sales were crap because it wasn't the same thing anymore. And then the third reason was because well, GM was going broke at the time. They almost went bust in 2009, so that's why they had to kill off Hummer along with the Oldsmobile and I think Saturn as well. But I think that was later. But basically, they had to kill off several brands because they weren't profitable, and GM was losing money pretty quickly. So that was required. That wasn't exactly because the vehicle flopped. Well, it was partially because the vehicle flopped, but because also GM was not doing well financially at the time.
Becoming a popular vehicle. Let me know what you think of the Hummer EV. Would you or anyone you know be interested in purchasing one? Do you even think that this vehicle will go into production? If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you.
Okay, so as you can see, I hit the dislike button because this is not true. Do I think the Hummer EV is gonna happen? Yes. I mean, the evidence that we have is hinting that this thing was gonna be probably the first EV truck to hit the market. Tesla, they're not doing too hot. Rivian, they're just still kind of a joke. Nikola, also kind of a joke. GM, the freaking thing is exiting prototype stage. They're retooling your factory to make the thing for real, and it's gonna come in like a year. I don't know, guys. I think it is not unreasonable to say that the Hummer EV is probably gonna happen. So there's my little reaction to this video, guys. Let me know if I can make it better. I feel like I may have rambled on here a little too long, but anyways, guys, that's it for today. That is my take on the Hummer EV and how Mr. Casgains Academy here isn't quite right. I mean, he's not wrong, but his evidence is kind of not super relevant. So there we go, guys. Thanks for watching this little video that I put together just kind of out of the blue. But anyways, catch you guys up on the next one. Peace.